Al Schnier from the band Mo, and I'm here with Ryan Storm from Storm Sounds, and we're going to do a rig tour today. I don't know, well, let's start at the beginning. This will be the easiest way. So we'll start with my guitar. This guitar is a Gibson SG reissue, something or other, I don't know. And it's I think this was made in 2008, if I recall. And it's kind of cool. It's a little bit different than typical SGs because the body's made out of Carina. But I just fell in love with the color, and I happen to love SGs. And one day I hope to have one in every color. And the pickups have been swapped out at some point. I've changed them a couple of times along the way, but I landed on the Lawler Imperials, and they're just a great PAF pickup, and I happen to love those. Otherwise, the guitar is relatively stock. You can see it's got a lot of wear and tear on it, but that's all just from me playing it all the time because I love it so much. There's more love than wear and tear. And we can go so deep as to even talk about the picks that I use. These are prime tone Dunlop picks. This is a 1.5 milliliter pick. And the thing that I like about these is very much like a mandolin pick, and they're very mellow. They feel really, really good. It has a nice organic quality to it. I mean, I like the tone of the pick. You can get super nerdy listening to picks and spending a lot of time on that. I mean, you know how the drill goes. I mean, I've built all of these cables myself, and it's like super high-end copper in the cables, and it's the same thing. But I've also had them for like a decade at this point, and they don't fail, which is really nice. And I hope all that equipment isn't going to be an issue, but again, it's one of the things you. So that's sort of like my bass line right there. And so I've got these old Mesa Boogie amps that I use. And I just use this one as sort of my primary amp, but I'm using both speakers. So I use, it's like a 212 setup with we'll call it a 50 watt amp. There's two 6L6s in this one. The cool thing about these Mesa Boogies, a lot of people will call them Mark I's, but they're really like the first run of boogies that Randall Smith was making back when he was building all the amps in the doghouse. So these came just shortly after like all the modified like Princeton boogies that he was putting out. And I can't remember the exact numbers, but like this one is like number 74 and the other one is like number 76 or something like that. They're super close to each other, which is kind of cool. That one even predates any of like the push-pull pots and anything like that he was doing. It's like just basic hot-rodded Fender amp, and it sounds amazing. I love it. I've swapped out the speakers, and I have the Celestion, what are they called? The Celestion, oh God, they're the white ones. But they're not the white back ones. They're like the Celestion Blues, but they're the white ones. They're 100 watt Celestions in there, Alnico speakers. Okay, what else can I tell you? And here's my signal chain, and it pretty much, well, it flows almost the way it looks. So I've got a Zvex wah probe here. This is my wah pedal, and it's a really interesting wah in that there's no mechanical stuff with it to make the wah sound. It kind of works almost like along the same principles like a theremin, and so the copper plate is the thing that changes the filter, so you can hear. And the thing that I love about it, I have a bin filled with like vintage wahs at home, half of which work, half are, in a state of disrepair. I got 4 of them sitting on a workbench at home that I'm going to fix one day. But like wahs are like so, I I don't know, they're so temperamental, and that plastic gear thing is not really a great roadworthy solution. This is great because there's no moving parts. It doesn't break. The only time I really have an issue is if we're playing in the rain and we're just getting dumped on. It doesn't work quite as well as it should. It also, I'm pretty convinced that, so you see, the cable can also affect it. So just these little things you figure out, the things that are conductive and that, you know, will actually make a difference. Otherwise, it's amazing. Other neat feature is it actually has a drive feature on it, which I'm going to crank. I had it kind of at unity, but so it's there if you want it. I've got other things to do that with. This is the Analog Man envelope filter, which was modeled after the MXR, and then he just put in a few extra features, made it sound a little bit nicer, and it's nice. He put in the reverse switch like you'd have on a Mutron. Which I love. It's kind of cool just to flip it every now and then and get something a little otherworldly out of it. So I put my wahs before my fuzz, before my overdrive. I know people try it both ways. I just kind of like to hit the wahs first beforehand. Next in line, I have my fuzz pedal, and I usually go through a variety of fuzz pedals. It's this guy here, the Zvex Fuzz Factory. This is one of my favorite pedals, and I have to keep it pretty tame for what we do. I've gotten in trouble for doing otherwise with it, and you can see I've got most of it, including like the drive dialed all the way back on this thing, the stability all the way up on this thing, and the volume's relatively low on it, so it's about as close as you could get to just sort of a vintage fuzz sound with it, which is nice, and it's still like very volume dependent, you know, like a good fuzz would be. And if you go all in, you get but then it'll clean up nicely. I love that pedal, but you can do all sorts of crazy shit with it where you really can't keep it under control, which is one of the fun things about it. They also make a probe version of that, which is really fun to play with. And again, I was sort of told, like, maybe you shouldn't use that in the context of this band. This pedal you can see is barely legible at this point, but it's that's an Analog Man compressor, which is just like the gray Ross compressor pedal, and it's one of my favorite compressors, and I use it just for a little boost, little extra sustain. But you can see I've got, on a lot of my pedals, I've got like the little rubber booties because I like to turn my knobs with my feet all of the time, and so I can use it as like a clean boost if we're just It's just a nice way to get a boost with a little extra sustain to it. But in combo with the overdrive pedal, for my overdrive, I like this. So this is a Arc Effects clone pedal. and I believe this is the V2 that he makes. It's one of my favorite Klon type overdrive pedals. In fact, I had a real Klon, and I actually like his pedal better, just for this setup. And I had the Klon for the longest time, and I never used it, and it just seemed odd because everybody's so nuts over these pedals, and it was like, I just didn't love it with my setup. And then I tried one of these from Artifacts and I fell in love with it. And now it's become sort of like my main drive. And again, like the nice thing about it is like you can kind of, I mean, there's a lot of variety with it. So you can keep it kind of transparent, but then combined with the compressor, and it's nice when you can just they work really well, and you can get a nice organic harmonic thing happening, and I love it. And so it's nice to be able to kind of dial in those sweet spots. It will be pretty gnarly if you want it to be. I rarely have a use for something like that. Every now and then, but you know, and I can also do all that stuff in combos. Excuse me. Next pedal. This is my delay pedal. I used to use analog delay pedals for the longest time. I had a tape echo on stage at one point, and went back to a digital delay. I really like this. This Providence delay is a Japanese company, like super hi-fi, and it's nice because there's a tap. So I use just like a little side tap for it, but then you can set 2 different delay times sort of as like your go-to. So I have one that I sort of set as a slap back. I just like it because it sounds really nice and it's very functional. So the chorus I just turned on, again, is another analog man pedal. It's his bi-chorus. Very nice, organic, analog chorus. But you get 2 of them with the bi-chorus. So, last but not least, I have a tremolo pedal here. This is made, it's a Caden Effects pedal, and I believe the guy was based out of Nashville, and it's just such a sweet, pretty sounding tremolo pedal. I buy them whenever I find them because I don't think they exist anymore, but has a gain if you need it, but it's not really necessary. There you go. That's really, that's the whole ticket. I used to have a massive pedal board, and at some point I kind of went down to this. I don't change things that much, not like I used to. I've been very content with most of the things that I have here. And it's just sort of like all the essentials, and I'm able to get the job done with that, and I like it that way. Even the amp setup is very simple for the most part. I rarely use that amp. Like I said, I just use the speaker more often than not. And if we get to like really small club gigs, I'll just drive like the 1 amp alone and not even use the 212 speakers. If you'd like, I could show you the guitars very quickly. These are all the ones I have on the road with me currently. This is another custom shop guitar, and I got the silver sparkle one when we were doing our 25th anniversary, and so we kind of went all silver. And so it was like silver suits, silver guitars, silver strap, like we went all in on silver. This one that's right next to it is a 58 Junior, and maybe, I mean, it's hard to say, but this is one of my favorite electric guitars that I own. And it's so nice because it's just a solid piece of mahogany. It's so resonant. The P90 pickup is phenomenal. I mean, I can't say enough good things about it. The neck feels great, everything about it. It's one of my favorites. At one point I thought I would just play this guitar on the road. It's not unlike, well, it's similar to the Junior that and that Lucas Nelson plays one. His the single cut, and I think is a 56. But I was like, man, he gets so many great tones out of that thing. You could get by with just having a Junior on stage. This is my Rick 12 string. This is the 660-12 model, which is the Tom Petty guitar. And I'm such a nerd for Tom Petty that I even had to get the Tom Petty strap for mine. The cool thing about this is it's unlike most Ricks, they actually put like a wider nut on this, so it's a very comfortable 12 string to play. And the reason I brought this out on the road was because of that guitar. I love this guitar. My double neck is a 73, and Gibson made 6 of those in 1973. And I've been watching this. Somebody had like a really like horrible ad on eBay or something. And I've been watching this guitar for a while, but the pictures kind of stunk or whatever. And finally, I decided to take a chance on it. And then I reached out to Gibson and I sent them the serial numbers, and they sent back, and they had only made 6 of them in 1973. And we know one of those went to Alex Lifeson, and another one went to Don Henley from the Eagles. They both have white double necks from that same year. And I was like, oh, cool. Well, I got one of them too now. And I haven't seen any other white ones. I've seen a few other the walnut ones, but it's such a badass guitar. It's so much fun to play, but it's also like 13 pounds. And meanwhile, like my other SG is like barely 7 pounds. So it's literally like twice as heavy. So there were songs where I really could get by just on the 12 string. I didn't need much of the 6 string part. And so I was like, I'm just gonna bring a real light 12 string on the road instead. And so kind of alternate. I don't play it as much as I used to, but there's still a few songs where I want both. Maybe there's like rhythm parts and lead parts, and it kind of covers all the bases. Is there anything else I can share with you?
I think that's good. Thank you, Al.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.